Hello everyone, welcome to This Day. It is Friday, December 22nd. I'm Michael Taylor. Where did the week go? It feels like it was just Monday. Here we are on Friday. It's going fast. I hope you got your Christmas shopping done. I got a few more things to do. I'm going to squeeze it in. Don't worry, I'll be all right. Hey, on today's show, we got a good one for you. It's going to be fun. We have Renew Ketamine Infusion coming in. Lots in the news lately about ketamine, so we're going to get some of the facts from doctors that are going to come in about the treatment, the psychotherapy that goes along with it, and all the support you get when you do these treatments. So I want to make sure you stay tuned for that and get some information about what ketamine is all about. And then, of course, we got Sports Corner with Cole Young. It wouldn't be a Friday without Sports Corner with Cole Young, so stay tuned for that as well. Hey, we got some information for you for Stay Informed. It's all about your viewing pleasures and the holiday viewing schedule. We've got some great stuff for the holidays. On Christmas Day, we are going to have Christmas Carol at 8:30 in the morning, 10:30 a.m., City Slickers, 8 p.m., La La Land. It's going to be great. And then on Tuesday, the 26th, we also have Grease at 8:30 in the morning, The Goodbye Girl at 10:30 a.m., and 8 p.m. is going to be Big Fish. The only bad part about that is it means Bobby and I won't be hosting the show. We're not going to have any This Days on Monday, Tuesday of next week. So enjoy the Christmas and the holidays, and we'll be back on Wednesday. Hey, let's take a look outside while we're at it. It got some beautiful shots. That's a great video we have down. I think of that, it's Laguna Beach down there. We have some great weather now that the storms have kind of cleared their way out. We may have a scattered shower or two today, but that's going to be pretty much it. Then we're going to head into partly cloudy and cool temperatures for the rest of the week. Weekend and into next week, and so enjoy the weather out there while we can. Now the rains are all done for the most part. Let's take a look at our sunrise and our sunset. Another great shot from, this is Balboa Island over there, and that's the sunrise. Is going to be, was 6:51 this morning, sunset 4:47, and that picture is brought to us by Ben Givens out there at Balboa Island. If you guys got to see the Newport Beach Boat Parade this year, it was a great one too. I was down there last Saturday. It was a lot of fun. Hey, if you want to send us a picture of the sunrise, sunset, anything, pets, pictures, places, holiday shots, whatever you want to send us, go ahead and do that. Laguna Woods Village TV at gmail.com is how you do that. And make sure you include your name, where you took the picture, and we will put it on our sunrise sunset segment. Got a holiday treat for you, no meetings. When we come back, we'll be talking to the folks from Renew Ketamine Infusion. Stay with us.
Renew Ketamine Infusion, Dr. Justin Yannick and Dr. Tanya Dahl are board-certified physicians with nearly a decade of experience in ketamine therapy who can help those who haven't found success with other treatments or wish to avoid daily medications. Whether you're struggling with depression, PTSD, anxiety, or chronic pain conditions, our private spa-like clinic focuses on creating the perfect setting for your ketamine treatment. Call us today to schedule your free physician consultation to determine if ketamine therapy is recommended for you.
Welcome back to This Day. Joining me now is Dr. Justin Yannick and also Dr. Tanya Dahl with Renew Ketamine Infusion. Welcome. So nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
I understand you were here about 2 months ago with Michael.
Yeah.
So I'm my first time getting to meet you. And,
nice to meet you. So thanks for having us.
Basically, tell me a little bit about yourselves and your background.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Dahl. I am born, raised in Arizona, but kind of a SoCal transplant. I had always wanted to do medicine ever since I was in 5th grade. I was so fascinated by the human body and how it all worked together. So I went to the University of Arizona, got my undergraduate degree. I trained in medicine at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and then I did my residency training here in SoCal at UC Irvine. And so right now I'm a board-certified emergency medicine physician who also took on a passion project working with ketamine, helping to treat patients that have conditions such as chronic pain and chronic mood disorders.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And Justin, what about you?
Yeah, so we met in residency. So we're both, board certified ER doctors.
Okay.
I also did a pain medicine fellowship as well. And yeah, we kind of met in the middle at a time a couple of years ago where, we just saw this pretty significant subset of patients that wasn't getting relief with more of your traditional medicines, talk therapy, antidepressants, pain medicines. and wanted to create a space that can utilize the evidence-based medicine that is ketamine and deliver it in a safe, controlled way to help these patients. And so we've been doing it for a couple of years now, and yeah, it's extremely satisfying and rewarding seeing the results that we get with these patients.
When did you first hear about ketamine or first start, seeing the benefits of it?
Well, so in the emergency department, we use ketamine every single day. So it's widely used and well studied to be very safe. At higher doses as more of a sedative type of medication. So we've been using it in the emergency department for 7-8 years now, kind of through our entire careers. And just recently, over the past 10 or so years, there's been a lot of research that has shown that when you use ketamine at low doses, it's very safe and effective at helping to treat pain and mood conditions. And so we kind of stumbled upon a couple other physicians who were starting to use this modality to treat these patients that were really not responding to other treatments, or maybe just didn't like the side effects of some of the other treatments that they were on. And so we started to learn about the world of ketamine and its uses, and we just decided to jump in and see what we could do to help people.
So how did you then come to, we want to create our own practice and to do this? How'd that come about?
I mean, so I had been working in a pain practice for a while, and again, there was these subset of patients that just weren't getting relief with interventional techniques, epidural, spinal cord stimulators, and other pain medicines. And I knew that ketamine could be effective for these patients, but I felt like the setting was really important. So rather than giving it like in a sterile medical office with fluorescent lights and patients going in and out, we wanted to create a space where it was just one patient, a spa-like environment to optimize the setting and kind of take the playbook from other traditional psychedelic medicines and really create a therapeutic environment so that they can get the most from the medicine itself. And so when they come into our clinic, it's just a medical provider, a nurse, and them, and they have the time they need to kind of heal through the medicine.
I like that, the healing through the medicine. I like that. So recently, it was released that the actor Matthew Perry died from ketamine, and so technically he drowned, but they're saying he had ketamine in his system. So what can you say, further regarding the case and the safety about ketamine? And
yeah, so ketamine, like I said, has been well studied and researched to be very, very safe. But like I also mentioned, it's all about the dose and also the setting that you're using it in. So at a high dose, you can get sedative effects, and it's been reported that the amount of ketamine in a system was over 18 times what is the safe amount to use.
All right.
And so we're using a very, very low dose in our clinic as an IV infusion, so it's infused very slowly. And so that is safe, and that's not causing the sedative effects that unfortunately I think he experienced. Also very safe to remember, you want to use it in a controlled setting. So when you come into our clinic, it's a provider, it's a registered nurse, and it's the patient, and we have eyes on that patient at all times. We're watching their breathing. We're watching our continuous pulse oximeter, which tracks their oxygen levels, their pulse. We're making sure that they're having a really good experience and not having any sort of dangerous effects. So always using it in a controlled setting, using it at a place like our clinic, which is very safe, but never using it in, especially when you're swimming or you're by yourself. Those are when you start to get into more riskier situations.
Okay, and so is it something like, I take an Advil and it lasts for 8 hours. So how does the pain management work with the ketamine?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's actually a really interesting question. So the ketamine in your system will maybe be measurable for 4 to 6 hours after the infusion is done. So the ketamine leaves your system, but the chain events that happen from the ketamine can last days, weeks, months, and even a lifetime, really. And so what happens is it leads to something called neuroplasticity. It acts on receptors in your brain that lead to new nerve cells growing, increased efficiency of neural connections. And so when it comes to things like chronic pain, it basically allows your brain and your spinal cord to process pain signals in a different way. Oftentimes patients with chronic pain, decades of chronic pain, they're hyper aware of their pain source. If you've got chronic low back pain, consciously, hours of the day, all you're thinking about is your low back pain. And what the ketamine allows your brain to do, and also your conscious mind to do, is to reprocess those signals in a different way. And whether the ketamine's in your system or not, it just takes that initial trigger combined with therapy, psychotherapy, physical therapy, things like that, to kind of reprogram the brain to not care so much about the signals in the low back, in the knee, things like that.
Interesting, very interesting. Are there any other side effects or dangers of using it for a long time?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll take that. So we don't typically use it for a long time.
Okay.
That's the beauty of ketamine, is that this is not meant to be a medicine that you are using for years. It is very much meant to be a very fixed period of time where we do 6 infusions over a 2 to 3 week period, and then occasionally we'll taper off where we'll do maybe monthly, every 2 months, but that's not the common technique. It's usually the 6 infusions, and then you're done. And that's really the idea, and that's where all the peer-reviewed evidence has kind of shown the real power of ketamine is rather than being a constant medicine that you have to take that either doesn't work but also reminds you that you're broken, this medicine really gives your body the power to heal internally and then be done.
So are we thinking, in Matthew Perry's case, are we thinking he was doing it himself, self-medicating, like maybe not under a doctor's care?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to speculate, of course, but I think that that's probably the case because well-trained providers and physicians such as us would not administer ketamine in that sort of a dose to somebody because we're obviously well aware of the sedative effects. Also important to mention that you don't want to mix ketamine necessarily with other medications. So buprenorphine is a very strong opiate medication, and so that can cause sedation. High-dose ketamine can cause sedation, and that's just kind of the perfect recipe for disaster.
Wow. Oh, such a shame. Who would you recommend ketamine for, and who shouldn't get it?
Yeah, so I mean, patients that would be candidates are people that have either tried and failed other medicines where like they're not working from mood disorders or chronic pain disorders, or are currently getting some therapeutic benefit, but they're having side effects from their medicines, whether that's weight gain, changes in sexual libido, cognition, brain fog, that type of thing. Those are the patients that will typically come to us to try a different way to see if they can either get off their medicines or get control of their symptoms. There's some absolute contraindications to ketamine use. That's if you have seizure disorder. So if you've had seizures in the past, because it can lower your seizure threshold, absolutely no to ketamine. If you have a history of schizophrenia or psychosis, absolutely no to ketamine. And then certain cardiac arrhythmias like AFib, A-flutter, if they're not controlled, then those would be kind of relative contraindications. But other than that, everything really is up to the discretion of the patient, us, and then other patients' medical providers to determine if this would be safe for you. But the beauty of ketamine is its safety. It was developed to be used in a setting where you really didn't have to measure their respiratory drive and their cardiovascular output. We still do that to be safe, but that's kind of what's so nice about it, is how safe it is.
What else would you say is like the best benefit of using it that has come out of discovering this?
The best benefit, I mean, there's a lot of benefits. Obviously, it works really, really well. So we're treating patients that maybe have tried 5, 6, 7 antidepressants in the past with no relief, and up to 80% of those people are now finding relief. So that's a huge, huge kind of weight that can be lifted off of people. And so it has that benefit. Another very interesting benefit is sometimes when you're getting your ketamine infusion, you can almost feel like you're in kind of a lucid dream. And so what can happen is you can actually find inspiration in things that you haven't really thought of before. So we have a lot of patients that we treat that are actually very creative type of people, musicians, authors, and they come out and it's just like this light bulb goes off and they have all these great ideas and they're writing new music. And so it has so many great benefits.
I think one thing to add
side effect.
Yeah, one thing to add to that too is the speed with which it works. A lot of traditional antidepressants or other medicines like that, they say 6 to 8 weeks before we can assess if this is working, and then they dose up. Ketamine, truly within minutes you can start to feel the effects, and within hours you kind of have a sense, is this working for me or not?
Wow.
So it's not something that you have to wait months for, and so especially for people that are really suffering, it's something that can provide them with relief immediately.
Oh, well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
We
thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having us.
If you would like to schedule a free consultation with Renew Ketamine Infusion, contact them through their website at renewketamineinfusion.com or call them at 949-503-1414. Stay with us. We'll have more of This Day right after this.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young, and believe it or not, this is the final episode of 2023. It's been an insane year in the world of sports, with tons of highs and lows, twists and turns, and all kinds of new records set. For this final episode of the year, I thought I'd continue the annual tradition of recapping the year in sports. Ready? Here we go. In January, to start the year, the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs won their second straight national championship after routing the TCU Horned Frogs 65-7. This was the most lopsided bowl game in college football history. Georgia became the first team to repeat as college football playoff national champions. Sticking with football, the NFL playoffs took place throughout the month of January. These games were absolutely electric, including an unprecedented comeback in the wild card round. Up 27-0 late in the first half, the Chargers blew the largest lead in franchise history and fell short 31-30 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who would eventually lose to the Chiefs in the following round. After defeating Jacksonville in their 5th straight AFC Championship appearance, the Chiefs got their revenge against the Bengals, sealing their seat in the Super Bowl. For the NFC, the Eagles coasted through the playoffs, dominating the Giants and the 49ers to punch their ticket in the Super Bowl. This led us to February with the Super Bowl stage set. The Eagles and Chiefs traveled to Glendale, Arizona for their shot at a Lombardi Trophy. Kansas City was able to hang on for a 38-35 win, marking their second Super Bowl win in just 4 years. Also in February, Tom Brady, the 7-time Super Bowl champion and 3-time NFL MVP, officially announced his retirement from the NFL. Technically, this was his second time announcing his retirement, but that's a longer story. 2 more of the greatest athletes of all time had major accomplishments in February. First, LeBron James broke the NBA scoring record when he scored his record-breaking 38,388th point, overtaking a milestone that stood for nearly 39 years and was held by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then, Novak Djokovic collected his record-extending 10th Australian Open championship and record-tying 22nd Grand Slam title. He also set the record for consecutive matches won at the Australian Open with 28. Moving on to March, most of the storylines revolved around baseball and basketball. Before the MLB regular season officially began, we were treated to the World Baseball Classic. Team USA played well throughout the tournament, fighting their way to the final round to face off against Team Japan. In one of those movie script moments, with Team USA down 3-2, there were 2 outs, no one on base, game on the line, and Mike Trout currently at the plate, and his Angels teammate Shohei Ohtani on the mound for Japan. Shohei struck out Trout to secure the victory for Japan, and in hindsight, this single moment had some major foreshadowing for the near future. Of course, I couldn't mention March without talking about March Madness. In the men's bracket, for the second time in just 5 years, a number 16 seed upset a number 1 seed in the first round as Fairleigh Dickinson University pulled off one of the greatest upsets in history over Purdue. Throughout the men's tournament, local San Diego State University fought and scrapped their way to a national championship appearance. Unfortunately, their Cinderella story run would come to an end in the title game as they fell just short to UConn in the national championship. In the women's bracket, the sports world watched in awe as the twists and turns and the emergence of dominant players like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark unfolded. Iowa and LSU would make their ways through the bracket and earn spots in the national title game, where the LSU Tigers women's basketball team won its first ever national championship. In April, we were yet again treated to one of the most iconic sporting events in history, the Masters. This year, Jon Rahm finally won his green jacket. This was Rahm's 7th time playing in the Masters and his first victory. The MLB kicked off its season, and the Tampa Bay Rays had an absolute historic start to the year. The Rays started the season with 13 consecutive wins, tying the modern era record and the most since the 1884 St. Louis Maroons. We also saw the NFL draft, where Bryce Young was taken first overall by the Panthers and CJ Stroud was taken immediately after by the Texans. In hindsight, the Panthers might regret that decision, but time will tell. Sticking with the NFL quarterbacks, in April, Aaron Rodgers officially became a New York Jet. The 4-time NFL MVP and Super Bowl champion was traded from the Packers to the Jets, and more on that later. On to May. The NBA and NHL playoffs were must-watch TV throughout the month. Our local Lakers defied the odds and won their way through the playoffs, earning a spot in the Western Conference Finals. Unfortunately, they were swept 4-0 by the Denver Nuggets. In the Eastern Conference, the underdog of all underdogs, the 8-seed Miami Heat upset the top 3 seeds in a row to punch their ticket in the NBA Finals. In the NHL, the Panthers would dominate the Eastern bracket, while the Golden Knights breezed through the West, with both teams earning their spots in the Stanley Cup Finals. In the world of racing, the F1 season went underway, but it was apparent very early that Team Red Bull would end the season as champions. At this point, Team Red Bull had won every single race. Speaking of racing, Mage, the 3-year-old chestnut colt, pulled off an impressive come-from-behind victory at the 149th Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs. Later in the month, Manchester City was crowned Premier League champions for the 2022-2023 season, completing the three-peat and their 5th Premier League title in the last 6 seasons. On to June. Halfway there, stick with me. The NBA Finals between the Denver Nuggets and Miami Heat tipped off, and the Denver Nuggets won their first NBA title in team history. Two-time MVP Nikola Jokic secured the title of Finals MVP after one of the most dominant playoff performances in history by any player. Speaking of first-time winners, the Las Vegas Golden Knights won their first title in team history in 5 games over the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. The Knights have only been a franchise for 6 seasons, making that title even more impressive. I said it back in June, but June is the month full of different championships. In college sports, the baseball and softball World Series tournaments took place. On the women's side, the Oklahoma Sooners women's softball team clinched a 3rd consecutive national championship after winning 53 games in a row and finished up the past 3 seasons with a record of 176-8. For the men, LSU continued their year of victories. The Tigers baseball team pulled out an 18-4 victory over the Florida Gators in Game 3 of the College World Series, earning their first World Series title since 2009 and their 7th title overall. Through a hot July, the major events of the month were Wimbledon, the Open, and the Women's World Cup. On the tennis court, 20-year-old Carlos Alcaraz from El Palmar, Spain, shocked the world when he upset Novak Djokovic to earn his first Wimbledon title in one of the longest tennis matches in recorded history. For the women, Marketa Vondrousova won her first career Grand Slam and became the first unseeded woman to win Wimbledon in a stunning upset over Ons Jabeur. American Brian Harman pulled off an incredible upset and won his first major title at the Open Championship at Royal Liverpool later in the month. After a statement victory over Vietnam and a nail-biting draw with the Netherlands, the U.S. Women's World Cup team entered the tournament as a heavy favorite to win it all. Unfortunately, they would fall just short to Sweden in the round of 16, and Spain would go on to win and become the first European team to win the Women's World Cup since Germany in 2007. Fall finally approached, which meant football was just on the horizon. But first, in August, baseball was preparing for the postseason. The Angels announced they were not looking to trade Shohei Ohtani and were looking to make a deep playoff run instead. This would not work out in their favor. Sticking with baseball, though, the Little League World Series was played throughout the summer, and the championship game was set for August. California's El Segundo brought home the Little League World Series championship title after a 6-5 walk-off home run victory over the team from Curacao. September arrived and brought with it the start of the 2023 NFL season. Early on, the Chiefs and Dolphins looked like Super Bowl contenders, the Bengals got off to another slow start, the Broncos seemed to pick up where they left off, horribly, and the 49ers, Cowboys, Bills, and Lions looked like Super Bowl favorites as well. Remember I mentioned earlier in April that the Jets traded for MVP Aaron Rodgers? Well, in September, we finally got to see his debut in a Jets uniform. Sorta. 4 plays into the Jets season opener, Rodgers ruptured his Achilles tendon and it was announced he would miss the remainder of the season. In the college football realm, the University of Colorado football hype was at an all-time high as new head coach Deion Sanders looked to have completely revamped the program. At the US Open of tennis, Novak Djokovic earned his record 24th Grand Slam singles title. For the women, 19-year-old Coco Gauff from Atlanta, Georgia won her first Grand Slam title after taking the US Open women's singles title in 3 sets. Almost there. In October, the Denver Broncos ended the streak and finally defeated the Kansas City Chiefs for the first time since Week 2 of the 2015 season. This marked the start of their 5-game win streak and playoff push. As the NFL regular season continued on, the MLB season came to a close. All 4 of the first-round matchups ended in sweeps, and the #1 overall team, our hometown Dodgers, were swept by the underdog Arizona Diamondbacks in the NLDS. The Texas Rangers upset the Houston Astros in the ALCS, earning their spot in the World Series, taking on the Diamondbacks. Arizona shocked the world more than once in the playoffs, knocking out the Brewers, Dodgers, and Phillies. But for the first time in history, the Texas Rangers became World Series champions. The Las Vegas Aces then won their 2nd straight WNBA title over the New York Liberty, which cemented the Aces as the WNBA's first repeat champions in over 20 years. Sticking with incredible feats in women's sports, Simone Biles won her 21st gold medal at the World Gymnastics Championships. She made history as the most decorated gymnast of all time with a total of 34 championship medals. November and December are still pretty fresh in the memory, so I won't dwell on them for too long. The month started with rough news as Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles, adding to the list of major injuries to some big-name players, specifically starting quarterbacks, this NFL season. The NFL playoff picture slowly began to take shape, while the F1 season came to its conclusion. As I said earlier, it came as completely zero surprise that Max Verstappen won his third straight world championship, capping the most dominant season by any driver in the sport's history with 19 race wins on the season. Naturally, this also meant that Red Bull won the Constructors' Cup. This all brings us to December. While we still have a week or so left in the month, a ton of major events have already happened. None bigger, however, than the announcement of Shohei Ohtani signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. As I mentioned just a week or so ago, Ohtani signed the largest contract in North American sports history worth $700 million. The other shocking news that was delivered this month was the announcement of the college football playoffs. The final four teams were Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. Florida State became the first undefeated Power 5 conference champion to be left out of the playoff, and the two-time reigning national champion Georgia Bulldogs were also left out of the playoffs after an earth-shattering loss to Alabama. Like I said before, LSU continued their historic year when Tigers quarterback Jaden Daniels was named the Heisman Trophy winner. Then, to close out 2023, the Los Angeles Lakers officially won the first ever NBA in-season tournament, rolling past the Pacers, winning 123-109 to win the inaugural NBA Cup. That wraps up the year of 2023 in the sports world. I definitely missed some major events, but it's hard to keep track of all of it. This year in sports was my personal favorite in recent memory, so here's to hoping 2024 is full of more big games, stunning upsets, buzzer beaters, walk-offs, heartbreaking losses, triumphant wins, and much more. As always, thank you for joining me throughout the past year and all the time on Sports Corner. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. I'm Cole Young, thanks for tuning in, and see you all in 2024.
And welcome back, everybody. Before we go, let's take a quick look at the weather before we head out for the day. And we've got some nice temperatures, nice, cool. This is winter-ish. For Southern California, this is about as winter-ish as we get, right? Cool temperatures in the 60s and low temperatures in the 40s overnight. So enjoy our California winter weather while we're at it. We're going to have some nice temperatures. No rain in the distant forecast, so we're going to be clear for a while. The rain that we had, we're going to have to do for the rest of December, I think. So enjoy the temperatures and enjoy your days out there. Tomorrow on this day, we have the Republican Club and the History Center folks coming in. The Republican Club's going to be talking about the senatorial candidates they have coming to speak, and so that should be a fun interview as well. That's going to do it for this edition of This Day. I'm Michael Taylor. For all of us here at Village Television, we hope you make this day a great one.